everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors Podcast. Woohoo! 2022! Looking at you. Pew, pew. Choo, choo. Wow, New Year. What you gonna do? 2022. All right, so our new season officially starts in March. We are getting ready for Market Research March in prep for Self-Tape May 2022. But I know that it's a new year. Everyone wants to get it going and have some inspiration. So I'm re-airing our last season's Get Your Shit Together series. This is several episodes. Lots of actors who did what it took to get their shit together and then they got working. So this is for you. They are so inspirational, so exciting. I love you. New episodes in March. I will talk to you soon. All right, get your shit together. I don't know what that sound is. It's like a explosion of joy for your new year. Get it. Book it. Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is Season 5. Feeling alive. 5 golden rings of luck for your 2021. Season 5, episode number 62. Season 5 is the Get Your Shit Together series. It is going to be just like it sounds. Actors who got their shit together and started working. People who are here to inspire you through action and information that they had, and I give it to you. Get your shit together, 2021. I mean, really, it's COVID. Let's just get our shit together. 2021. Woo! Hi, guys. What a fucking crazy year 2020 was. I just want to take some time. Just really want to thank everyone so much for their encouragement, their activity, their engagement, their passion, their perseverance, all of you who have continued to really engage in information, inspiration, and this camaraderie that I am hoping to continue to grow and plant amongst us as we further ourselves in this journey. So this episode, we have Alexandra Wright. Alex, oh my God, you guys. Alex is just so cool. Alex is one of those people that is phenomenal. She's a phenomenal actress. And she just really couldn't get arrested. And she figured out her marketing materials. She figured out, what is that thing that she brings that is so unique and so special. We talk a lot about her vocal tone. We talk a lot about her physical package, her hair, her styling, getting her reel done, getting her headshots really refined to the thing that she brings that is so unique and authentic to her. And boy, how she didn't just book a series. So I am so excited. I'm so inspired. It's such a great example of doing the work in every single aspect of your career. It's not just talent always. It's often talent and also, as I say all the time, clarity of what you bring. And she aced that and she gets great results. So enjoy. This episode is brought to you by Image by Buckley. That's Image by Buckley. You guys know I love me some Buckley. Then we also have Singing Lessons Los Angeles with Greg Saffel. I can't stress it enough, you guys. Voice lessons, voice lessons, voice lessons. SingingLessonsLosAngeles.com. So listen, thank you all so much. I hope that you are not on your way to an audition, but just got an audition notice that you're going to go work on. Book it. Book it. Book that job.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have...
Hi, I'm Alexandra Wright.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Alex. How are you?
God. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here. Do you want to spell your name so people can look you up on IMDb and
Yes.
bump your number up?
Alexandra, Alexandra, and then last name Wright, Wright.
F yes, you guys. I'm having you on today so that we can talk about getting your shit together. You have had a really great couple of years of like focusing and getting your shit together. Obviously, you have like further that you want to go, and we can talk about that. But right now is a time when a lot of actors are scared. Some of them maybe don't have access to a job, things like that. And I'm doing this mini series to sort of communicate and encourage actors with the things that they like can take control of right now. You know, so everyone knows Alex and I are friends. And I got to really watch the growth that you had in your career through getting a little clearer and then getting some materials that get things clearer. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about people doing right now is taking this time to get your materials together, build relationships, do the things that normally we maybe kind of feel like we don't have the time to do because we kind of feel like we're a little bit behind and people are working and like, I don't have time to go do all that shit, you know? And now taking the time that we have and really working that stuff out so that when things become full boom and full zest again, that they're in the position to really be sort of plucked out and used within this industry.
Absolutely. And I think there's also more avenues that are available to people than they know are there. And I think there's also something too that happens with actors or just sometimes creative people where because there isn't one path, because there's actually a bunch of different options, we get choice fatigue where it's like, oh my God, like I don't know what step to take. I feel paralyzed because I don't know what to do. So then I do nothing. Yeah. And what was really helpful for me was finding a strategy. And once you have that strategy, you feel really empowered because you're like, oh, I can do these things. I can like check this off my list. It's like, how do you eat an elephant sandwich? One bite at a time. Because you got to know what the sandwich looks like. And I think for a lot of people, that's where it becomes overwhelming. And so we just freeze.
Yeah, Jesse and I have this joke. I think it's a South Park joke. Step 1, decide you're going to become an actor. Step 2, Step 3, win an Oscar. And it is complicated because it is different for everybody. And if you line 50 different actors up who are working, you will get 50 different answers. And we all are on our own unique journeys and paths. And so my hope with the podcast as a whole always has been just like information, inspiration, camaraderie, and letting people share the things that have worked for them and be able to inspire or inform other people.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Great. First, before we get into all of that, just give them a quick rundown of like how long you've been pursuing acting. Are you repped? Are you union? What kind of things do you go out for? And like, then where are you looking to go towards? Like, what's your next path?
Sure. So I'm like Audrey, and this is probably why we're friends in the sense that I love theater nerd, 100%. By the way, I love the little throwback photo you put on Instagram the other day in your like secretary outfit. Oh my God.
Oh my God. This is a high school play or a junior high school play that I posted a picture of. And I was like the talent agent to the lead inside the play.
It was so good. Yeah. So my background is really heavily in theater and trained in theater. I went to USC for undergrad. I did the Harvard ART program for grad school, moved back out here after finishing that program in Boston. And I'm repped both here and in Atlanta, and I'm union. But for the longest time, I was just going out for theater. I could not get into any Los Angeles rooms. I was getting into rooms in Atlanta and doing well in Atlanta, but just could not seem to get in any rooms out here. And no one knew what to do with me, which is part of what we'll be talking about is how I figured out what people should do.
What the hell to do with you?
Sounds strange. But yeah, I always found that I was doing well when I got in rooms. It was just this thing of, I was too young for the type that I was, or what is her type? And yeah, just, feeling like I was banging my head into a wall because I was like, well, I'm good. Like, I know I'm good. And that's where I think the big mistake is thinking that, well, if I'm good enough, someone will find out, which just isn't a thing at all.
So real. But that's also what we're taught, right? Is like, be good.
Yeah. Well,
like,
and you
just
think about
be good.
In school, it's like, oh, if you're really good and you do well in your audition, and also by the way, if you're doing well in your classes and your teachers like you, then they'll want to direct you in their show. So I was like always doing well in my classes, and I was always preparing for the audition, and I was getting those parts. And I approached the business in the same way, where it's like, well, if I just stay in my classes and I keep training and I keep doing well, then I'll get these parts, because that's what's worked for me in the past. And then going, where are these parts?
You kind of have to be out of school long enough to sort of go like, wait a second. Like, I think that's not happening.
This is not how I thought it would go. My favorite, and you did this on the podcast once, you said, I'm sorry, did you think this was the business of fair?
Yeah.
And, because in every other profession, if you follow these steps and you do well in school and you get that degree, you'll become a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. And you're excellent at what you do.
Yeah. Then of course things will work out your way. And quickly realizing, and I noticed this too in theater, I was like, man, I'm working with some amazing actors doing stage, some of the best actors I've ever seen work, period. And they're not what anyone would consider famous, or, they're not doing TV and film. And that's, if your goal is to just do stage, great. But I knew I wanted to do everything. And so going, okay, something's not right here.
Yeah, great. And so when you were sort of like, your transition really to sort of having more clarity, as I recall, was like 2-ish years ago. Was that about how long it was?
Ish. I had heard you do an episode with Buckley Sampson, who I now work with and is just a gem of a human being.
True.
Oh, she's amazing. And y'all were talking about the specificity of typing and branding. And I thought I knew my type, and I thought I knew my brand. I could articulate it. I knew the characters I was going to, like, I had done all that work. But then in looking at my materials, I was like, I've never had anyone like style my headshots. And so I started looking at my headshots, and I was like, okay, if I was just looking at these objectively, this is not me, this is someone else. Do I know who these characters are? Can I point to this headshot and name a TV show and a character? And I was like, no, that's just like a nice photo of me. And I now,
it's so real.
I know,
because it's so real.
I now know that, like, if my parents hate my headshots, they're good headshots. If my mother is like, well, I can't put these on the refrigerator, you just let me look so sad, then I'm like, okay, I've done this right.
And here's the thing, is that's very particular to you. And so I want everyone to know, like, that's part of what's so hard about this, right? Like, you may be a person whose casting is like just your best version of your best self, looking your cutest of cute. And then that picture is also like what the industry is maybe going to do with you.
Right.
And then there's some alignment in that. A lot of these conversations that I'm going to have with actors in this miniseries is like, just because something that a particular actor says is like, my headshot is something my mom loves, then it's not the right headshot. I don't want everyone to then listen to it and then go, oh, I have to get a headshot that my parents hate. And then think like, that's the ticket.
No, that's certainly just me. I mean, my family and friends know me as Alley Cat, who's like weird, had braces on my feet when I was a kid, like can't seem to walk without falling, like always spills on my, like just like a goofball. And I thought like, oh, then that's my casting, because that's who I am. And there's some truth in that when it comes to comedy. But my main thing is drama, and going, okay, I'm not playing that. I'm playing like the grittier, tougher kind of badass chick. And my parents don't want to like hang a photo of me on the refrigerator, like in a leather jacket and like a smoky eye, like what, they don't know what to do with that. And so, I was looking at my materials, and then, starting with the headshots, and then going, okay, well, if my headshots are this vague, what about my reel? And then looking at my reel and going, again, if I'm watching this objectively, I'm like, okay, this person can act. The end. Then all of a sudden I was like, now I know what casting means when they say they don't know what to do with me. And then I reached out to you and I was like, can we get coffee? Help me.
Right.
Help
Which is ironic,
me.
right? Like the main reason I do the podcast is so I don't have to have coffee with people. So then you and I had hung out. We were sort of just chatting, and you and I had talked about this discovery that you had, that maybe there was like an incongruence, or maybe there was like a lack of clarity. And I also want to talk about that. Like, a lot of people have the point of view that there's no such thing as casting. You're a person. You're not a brand. You're a human being. You're an actor. Your job is to be many people. That to like, quote unquote, pigeonhole yourself or put yourself in some sort of category or box is maybe a fad or maybe shticky, or it's like not what we're doing here. Because I also want to say about you, like, this is like not for nothing, you guys, but like Alexandra is a fucking beast of an actress. Like, you know that I feel that about you. That's one of the things that we really had in common is this feeling like we could do the work, right? And yet nobody cared.
Right.
And we could do the work and people would like say to us, you're freaking great. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know, like, you know, it was just sort of like, you know, or I would hear, I don't know, you would hear, I would hear like often like, gosh, in 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And still for me, right? Like my husband's always moving like my casting bracket up 10 years. Like it's just in 10 years. So it's like our inside joke now. Yeah, it's our inside joke now. And I would do like a showcase or I would do an agent workshop or something. I would do a play and reps would come up to me afterwards and say, I just want to let you know, like that was so great. And if it was a different time in the business right now, I would sign you immediately.
Yep.
And I was like, thanks.
Yep. I had an agent come up to me after a showcase that I did, and she was like, I want you to know, I loved everything you did up there. And she was very complimentary. And I said, great. Can I get your card? I would love to have a meeting with you. And she goes, oh,
no.
She was like, she's like, honestly, I wouldn't know what to do with you. You know, you're in, and it's, you know, there is truth in that. Like the category I'm in is a very populated category in LA. You know, now I'm in my 30s, but at that time I was in my mid 20s. You know, I think for her, it was like, you don't have the credits. You're not specific enough. Like, what am I going to do with you? Oh yeah. You're getting told, you know, you haven't aged into your type. I've also been told I'm a tweener. So I'm not like pretty enough to be the pretty girl in the film, but I'm also not like quirky looking enough to be the quirky person. And I'm sitting there going like, but people look like me, like clearly, because like I'm a human being, I look like me.
Right.
So
right.
What does that mean that stories aren't being told about people who look like me?
And yet you were getting this consistent feedback. I don't know about you. I remember I got to the place where I sort of realized like, I think maybe it's not my talent. And I'm over here like trying to solve talent. Like, and I'm just consistently not getting the feedback. Of like, it's the skill, it's the talent, it's that. I'm constantly getting the feedback of like, not old enough yet, or I don't know what to do with you, or whatever, which is what led me on my own like investigative discovery idea of like, why is it people keep saying that?
Right.
And then beginning the trial and error process of seeing how to solve that. So what is hard about that though, is I will say few people are going to say to you, yeah, I know what to do with you, but you're just not good enough yet.
Right.
So I think a lot of actors have this belief of like, gosh, I'm just so great. And so then they blame type. And I think that's a lot of maybe why a lot of people have this thing of like this type thing, everyone wants to solve their type and blah, 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 is that there's truth to that. But just like all of us is so unique that it may be a little disingenuous that like what some people need to do is like be in class for a few more years.
Because our talent also feels like something we can control. Like we can sign up for another class or we can sign up for another thing or, you know, movement class, whatever. I remember wanting to be told that it was that because it felt like something I could work on. But exactly reaching this moment of going, okay, so it's not my talent. So maybe they are right when saying that they don't know what to do with me. So then what do I do with that? And that's when I think, at least for me, was the most frustrating. So I was like, well, I can't change who I am. I can't all of a sudden become more specific. And it was like, oh, but wait, I can. Because my type wasn't something you would look at and be like, oh, she's XYZ. I'm kind of generic looking. And so I don't feel like it was something you could easily pinpoint. But also going back to your idea of like, there is no type. I mean, of course there is. Like take any movie in your mind that you would want to cast, like take a moment and try to like recast Indiana Jones with like your friend group. And you're like, oh, yeah, Bobby would be Indiana. And then take a moment and go, well, why would I make Bobby Indiana? Because Bobby has something in him that is reminiscent of Indiana Jones. It's just like, of course there's type. But I think you're right. People oftentimes lean on that too hard rather than actually taking a look at what else could be tweaked.
But wait, Alex, wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need And now it's time for listener questions.
This listener question is brought to you by Image by Buckley. That's Image by Buckley. That's Buckley Sampson. Alex and I were just talking about Buckley, and OMG, I couldn't love Buckley more if I tried. In addition to being, really, like an incredible actress, she's also a phenomenal person. She is so caring. She's so compassionate. She really understands the plight of the actor. She loves styling, and this is just something that's developed over the last several years where she realized there was a real need for actors to get styling help. There's so much that she contributes to. She works with stuff that's in your closet already. She'll help you shop online. You buy things, you try it on. Everybody's super understanding about taking things back right now because people can't go into stores as easily and try things on. Not everyone has this skill. And I think a really big part of being a successful business person is just acquiescing to the things that you have a talent in and the things that you don't have a talent in. And if there's something you don't have the talent in, outsource it. Alex worked with Buckley on both her headshots, and then she also took some editorial shots for her show that's coming out. And I just want to say that's something that I find to be really valuable. Another great thing that she does is help people style for auditions. So many people just don't have this skill. And I just want to say, especially with self-tapes, I think you really need to know how to be properly dressed for the character for self-tapes. And it's not fair. It's not fair that that's like now a skill that is an expectation that you bring with you. But it is what it is. I couldn't recommend styling enough. And Buckley is so great at it. So Image by Buckley, she's on Instagram. You can find her on the internet. And she's actually really quite affordable. I think a lot of people are really intimidated by the idea of a stylist. They're like, oh my God, it's going to be like $5 million. And it's really not. imagebybuckley.com. I highly recommend.
Hi, Audrey. I'm such a huge fan of the show. My name is Francesca Schwer, calling in from Los Angeles. I had a question specifically about gifts to your agents and managers during this time. I know on a separate episode you talked about gift culture, and I'm just graduated this year, so I'm very new to having representation, and I really want to give them gifts for Christmas, but I don't really know what the best options as far as gift choices is anymore, especially because you mentioned something about like bottles of wine to bring to parties and things like that, but which are obviously not happening. Also, people aren't in their offices anymore. So I was wondering if you had any recommendations of how to go about those situations right now. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do. I love the show. Bye.
OMG, Francesca, I'm so glad that you asked this question. Okay, so I know that it's not the holiday season anymore. That's over. However, it is the new year. So if you didn't send your reps anything in the holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, all of the season, then it is perfectly acceptable to send a New Year gift and to send it any time in January. Generally, everyone gets a pass in 2021 now. And so if it takes you a few weeks to get something out, that's fine. Now, getting something to them and their personal object to them in the mail is very tricky because, like you said, they're not in their offices anymore. However, there are some things you can do. So I recommend if there's a casting director that you had a good relationship this year, maybe they booked you on something, maybe they pinned you or brought you in several times. You don't necessarily need to give a gift, but a thank you is very well received. Just like, I really appreciate you so much for giving me so many opportunities this year. I'm so happy that we had the opportunity to collaborate and so grateful to be able to have worked on that show or that commercial or that voiceover job, whatever it is. Just an acknowledgement of their part. Casting is like a super thankless job, actually. And anything that you can do to show your gratitude and appreciation to that community, I think is really valuable. If it's somebody that booked you on like a really big job or something really exciting and you have the finances, sending some sort of a gift card is just, you want to make sure you're not walking the line of bribery, right? Because they can smell it. So if you're like buying their love, I think it's a little tacky. But if you are genuinely like, hey, I know that you love this thing, and I just wanted to extend my gratitude for you and your collaboration this year. You can do it virtually. You can have your rep send an email to them, like forward an email with like a gift card or something like an e-gift card. If you have contacted their email personally, you can send it to them personally if you have that kind of relationship. Only if you have that kind of relationship. Don't send an email to them like blindly. If you like grabbed their email somewhere randomly, don't do that. But if you are friends with them, if you know them, I think that's always well received. Another thing, so for me, I sent things to my reps. I sent them to their residences. And for some of them, I just asked them for their address for my representation. I was like, hey, have a little something, something for you. Can I have your address? That was very well received. Some of them also, I didn't ask them directly for their address. I asked my manager to ask them for their address. That's another thing you can do. You can say, hey, I want to send some things over to my team. Can you ask so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so what their addresses are so I can send them something if they don't mind? That's a perfectly fine thing to do. Also, for some of my reps, I just emailed gift cards. You know, I had a good commercial season and my commercial representation, shout out to SBV Talent and my superstar, Rachel. I sent her a little something because we had a great season, and I just sent her a gift card to something that I knew that she liked. And it's just a little like show of gratitude and appreciation. She works very hard for me. I know that she works very hard for me, and I really appreciate it. So I hope that's clear. So to clarify, 1, you can ask your manager for the addresses to your agents so that way you can send something to them directly. 2, you can email your manager and agent a gift card of some sort. Anything that you know that they like. You can troll their Instagram. Sometimes that helps. You could ask some friends. You could just guess. I don't recommend things like, you just don't know who's sober. So I recommend staying away from things like wine, but even like a floral gift card so they can order themselves flowers is nice, or they can use that gift card to send someone else flowers, I think is nice. Even honestly, like a Target gift card is always great. An Amazon gift card is always great. Something that is just sort of happy and people are always excited to get. And in terms of casting directors, if you follow anyone on social media, you can send a message of gratitude and thanks. If it's somebody that you have their email, you can send them an email of thanks and appreciation. If it's somebody that you don't, but you want to send something physically, you can have your manager reach out or agent reach out and see if they have an address that you can send something to. It should come from your representation. Hey, my client wants to send you something. Is there an appropriate mailing address for them to send you something? I sent somebody flowers this year, and that's what I did. All right, you guys. I adore you, and be the change you want to see in this world. So if you wish people appreciated you more, appreciate them. Reminder, if you have listener questions, call 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70 for all your listener question needs.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So then you sought out a lot of information, which is a process I went to. You went to some friends and you talked to various people that you trusted. I know we had some conversations. And so tell me some of the clarity that came out of that investigation and trying to figure out what that was for you.
Sure. Well, I hired Buckley, which was huge in terms of helping me get clear and more specific. I'm also horrible at styling. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Please.
Because it's a huge deal that I think, especially with self-tapes, it's, again, Jesse said it so sweetly in the end of season 4, that it's like a lot of work they're asking us to do. You know, if somebody's good at styling themselves for the role and also is great at the hair and makeup for the role and also is a great actor and also lives with a filmmaker, and, it's like there's all these things that like can make it a little bit advantageous for them to like be like so clearly the role.
Right.
And it sucks.
Well, especially for those co-star guest stars, they just want someone who is the part, right? We say that all the time. Like someone in that, again, that's where typing comes in. If you naturally have that essence about you, it's going to be easier for you to get that part because then you're not having to quote unquote act. You're not having to push through anything. It's just who you are. So yeah, hiring Buckley was huge. Also, just, I know myself and I'm very visual. So being told I'm one thing being told my type is different than seeing my type and seeing like pictures of it and like styling of it, other actors, and being able to go like, okay, I get that. I also, and this is just me, because I feel a little incongruous to like the way my family and friends know me, I could not ask them for my type.
Yeah, right.
My mom's be like, well, you're really sweet and you're funny and you like animals. And I was like, okay, I can't ask them. So I started looking at, when I would audition, what were the things that I was nailing, the things that when I read it, I was like, oh, I totally got this. Like, what were those parts? I looked at old reviews. I don't know if that's helpful for other people, but I looked at old reviews of stage work I had done, and I looked at the adjectives that people had used, and also just people's first impressions of me when they first met me. And it was like, okay, it's things like blunt, strong, fighter, intelligent, gritty, looks like someone who could take a shot of whiskey and shoot a shotgun. And that's also my upbringing, because I'm from the South. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and also going like, I see that and I understand that. And when I started to hone in more on what it was, it felt good in my bones too, which I don't know, might not always feel the same way for other people. But for me, I was like, okay, I see that. I feel that. Yeah, I've never been really good at playing ditzy blonde girls. Like I've never been good at playing the cheerleader. I've never been good at playing bubbly, even though my friends would call me bubbly all the time. Like I don't book those parts.
It's such an important distinction too about like who you're being compared against, right? Because like I talk about on the podcast all the time that like I think of myself as so educated and metropolitan, but it's because I'm from Albuquerque. I'm from Albuquerque before Hollywood like showed up to Albuquerque and Californication did. And so I was one of like, from my high school, we started with 1,500 to 2,000 freshmen, and we end with 400 to 600 seniors. Wow. So like the dropout rate is, they told us to like look to our left, look to our right. 2 of us wouldn't be here on graduation day, right? Mm-hmm. That's our welcome to freshman class. And it's real healthy, the American education. Then only like 20% of the people who graduate will graduate from college. And then 3% of that 20% will graduate from out of state. So like the fact that I went out of state for college and graduated. And then I would come home and they'd be like, you graduated already? And I'd be like, yeah. They're like, you graduated in 4 years? And I was like, that's the time schedule I was on, you know. But that's just not how it was done back home. So I felt as a person always so like, yeah, like metropolitan in my body and all these things, right? And compared to people who are born and raised in metropolitan cities, I'm just not that. I'm quite middle American. And I think a lot of it is like when we're asking people that are closest to us, is they're looking at it very much through their filter and their lens, which is like compared to all of the people in the South that you grew up with, you probably are sweet and soft and, you know, you're an actress. You went to go be an emotional actress, right? But compared to people who are actually like real soft and haven't ever like lifted a thing in their life, like you actually are a badass and are hardy and you can handle a gun. You're not like afraid to get to work.
Well, I realized I was like, okay, I've never once been called delicate. Like no one's ever been like, look at that delicate woman, or like fragile. You know, like I would never be Laura in Glass Menagerie, you know? So, and I think maybe too, because I have my background is in theater, I started with like, what are the parts I know I will never get cast in? And Laura was like,
that's so common.
And then I was like, okay, so why Laura? And it was for all these reasons. And then something else too that struck me, and this is something you said to me over coffee. You're like, there's a bluntness about you that if you said some of the things that I said on the podcast, she was like, you were like, because your voice is lower, it's going to sound meaner than if you were to say it, because you do have a softness to you. And as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Because there have been so many moments in my life where I'll say to someone like, I don't know if you're really prepared for this part or whatever. Not that I would say that, but like I teach. Right. So if I said to my students, like, I don't think you prepped that scene very well. And noticing like the heartbreak in them. And then like my TA would be like, yeah, you know, like you just weren't memorized and you weren't listening and you weren't present and it just wasn't very good. And they would like take that better than like you weren't prepped. But it's because I have like a roughness to me that I'm not aware of. I mean, I am now, but at the time I was like, how can she say that? And I can't.
You know, I really encourage everyone to go, if you can find it, watch the Glee Project, because it's where I started to get it. Was Ryan Murphy would come at the end of the episodes of every Glee project, and he would watch them work and he'd talk to them. And then he would start talking about how he would write for them. And that was so eye-opening to me because I was like, right, how he would write for them, which is a really great way to say you're casting, right?
Exactly.
It's like, how would I write for you? What are you bringing that I think is like so authentic to you that if I help you bring this thing that is what you bring better than anyone else brings it and is so unique and wonderfully you, like people will identify with it. People will understand it. People have a place for it. Right?
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't seen that, I recommend it. Okay, so then let's talk about this thing that you did that I really loved, which is you started matching these cues that you got, right? About like your voice and about how people see you and all of those sorts of things. I love that you paired with a photographer who was like known for shooting darker, more intense stuff, right?
Yeah.
I love that you got wardrobe with Buckley to prepare for that. Then you worked with a filmmaker to create some footage that would also support that.
Right.
So talk about that process of putting all that together.
First of all, it is a long process and it is an overwhelming process. And I knew
And
that
an expensive process.
and an expensive process. Absolutely. And I knew that if I got too much in my head about like, oh, this is just going to take like so much time. It's going to cost a lot of money. And it's going to be a lot of effort, that I was going to hate the process and it was never going to get done, or it's going to take me a lot longer. So just doing one thing at a time, one thing every day, and definitely creating the reel took the most time and was the most stressful, but it's also where I learned the most and it was the most fun. And so I had to get more specific than I ever thought I would ever be, down to what character am I on what TV show? Do I have a headshot to match that character from that TV show? Do I have a clip on my reel that matches that character from that TV show? Can I find scripts from that TV show, write my own scene that is reminiscent and in the same style and tone? Can we then find locations that look like it would be a location from that TV show? I mean, everything was just about paring down and getting as specific as possible. We shot the reel over the course of a weekend. We did 4 scenes. We did 2 a day. I casted my friends in it. I had a hair and makeup artist, obviously a stylist, which is Buckley, the producer who organized the fantastic crew. And we just banged it out. I don't think I slept much that weekend because I was so stressed out. Because, of course, you're sitting there going, well, if this doesn't work, that's a lot of time and energy and money down the drain. But I also knew that if it did work, I didn't have to sit there with this question mark going, well, why aren't these things working out? Like, it's like, okay, well, I tried that one avenue. I tried that one type. It didn't work. Let's try something else. But as soon as it was done, I mean, I got a better rep. I started getting better auditions. My reps in Atlanta were thrilled. And they had never said anything to me about like, you need more material or anything like that. But I all of a sudden sent them these new headshots and these new scenes. And they were like, oh, this is fantastic. Oh my God, thank you so much. And I started noticing that my number of auditions went up. And also the auditions I was getting were more specific for me. And so I was booking more because I was now getting auditions that were right for me versus just auditions that were just auditions.
Yes. I mean, one of the things that I feel like has been such a light bulb for me in my own journey has been like when I discovered that I booked every time I was in a period outfit. So if it was like from 1990 or before, I was probably going to get it, right? Yeah. And then I started trying to identify what that is and why that is. And I have a lot of theories, but at the end of the day, the reality is that the more I leaned into that, the more I would book it. And the more I booked it, the more credits I had, which got me more of those opportunities, which gave me more opportunity to book bigger roles, better roles. And sort of like the cycle and the momentum on it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I think what you're talking about, which I love, is like, I love that your agents, like you point out that they never asked for it from you. Because I think a lot of people are like, it's like, we want somebody else to tell us, like an agent or a manager, like, go do this thing. Because we're actors. We love assignments. We love like, go do this thing, right?
Tell me what to do and I'll do it. Yeah.
And a lot of them, I mean, it's just unfortunately not their job. I mean, I think they would benefit, a lot of them, but also a lot of them aren't qualified, honestly. And why an actor is or isn't booking jobs can be so many things. Some of it is execution. This is why I started self-tape practice for myself, was like, I just didn't feel that I was competitive in the actual audition process. I was great as an actress, but that wasn't translating to the audition process. But in addition to, there's like showing them, who fucking kills this? I do.
Right.
I killed this thing. And also being willing, which you talked about, to like have it not quite work out. Like you take the best guess that you can, you point it in a direction, and then you kind of test it out, and then you see what happens.
And one of those scenes didn't work. Like one of the scenes we watched it back and it was like, meh. Yeah. I mean, I was still able to pull, things from it that were helpful, but at the end of the day, like I still got a kick-ass reel that is working for me. And now I have other things to add to it because
that casting. But to me, that's what's so great.
Exactly. And now I'm a series regular on a show where I am in my casting. Like I'm playing a leather wearing detective who shoots guns and drinks bourbon. And it's like, oh, this is exactly what I had mapped out. It's like, I can play a detective who does X, Y, Z. And then it's like, oh, I get that audition and then I book it. And it's like, oh, and now I'm doing that. And now I have, again, that for my reel. I think there's just a lot of fear in getting specific because it's like, well, if I get it wrong, then I get it really wrong. But you're going to get it wrong anyway if you're being too general. So better to just know and then try something else.
Well, I would say like what's working for you, like listen, if being unspecific is what you're doing and then the feedback, which is important, is that like, I don't know what to do with you, which is the consistent feedback you were getting and consistent feedback I was getting, then I think then that's worth looking into, right? If the consistent feedback that you're getting is, you just got to keep working on that audition technique. Then like no one's going to be like your audition technique is bad. But they're like, keep working that out, And if that's something you're hearing consistently, then that's probably something to consider. But really ask yourself, like, is it consistently or is it like somebody once told you something, right?
But wait, Alex, wait. I have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
This shit you don't know about your union is brought to you by Greg Saffel. That's Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. Okay, you guys, listen. You can tell by Alex's voice, it is really specific. And it does, in fact, change her casting. If she had like this like really high voice that she sort of talked like this and then looked the way that she did, it would be a totally different story that she would be selling. And knowing what your vocal quality is and then what are the conclusions that people make. Voiceover casting is a thing for a reason. It's because different vocal types tell different stories. And you can have vocal range, so you can change your vocal type. A lot of people also have some habits of like when they're acting, they audition and they get a little nervous and they start like sucking in their breath because they're not acting on the breath. So they have an impulse and then it happens sort of with a breath tick as opposed to taking that impulse and then putting the line on it. So act on the line. Then sometimes people have some just even physical habits where emotionally they're having difficult accessing their emotional pool. This is super common. This thing can happen to many of us where when we are feeling emotional, our stomachs clench, our chest gets really shallow in the breath, our throats constrict, our tongues and jaws tighten, and all of that is very hard on your emotional life. So if you're a person who feels like that emotional access is hard for you to tap into, definitely voice class is so helpful with that. And if that sounds scary to you, if that sounds like, oh God, like voice class, then that is definitely something you need to look into. Our instrument is the body and voice. And I know all of you are sitting there doing 5 hours of yoga as your New Year's resolutions, and then you are not doing any vocal training. I do vocal training in the mornings. It's really important. I have tapes. I work with Greg, and it's just trying to get my register, my breath, all of my access to my emotional life, even just making sure that I am pronouncing my words accurately and correctly. all of it is really important. I couldn't recommend it more highly. That's Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. If you want to sing, great, go work with Greg. If you just want to work on your actual speaking voice, your breath capacity, vocal fry, eliminating nasality, releasing tension from your voice, accent reduction, any of that, he's really great with beginners and super seasoned. Also, you can do it all virtually. That was set up way before the pandemic, which I just love. He was on the forefront of that. So don't be intimidated by a virtual session. It's super helpful. And aren't you glad that we're probably not going to have to drive as much for stuff like that anymore? I'm like super happy. singinglessonslosangeles.com. So this shit you don't know about your union, I want everyone to do the following. Start listening to the SAG-AFTRA podcast and start listening to, viewing, watching the SAG-AFTRA YouTube videos. Okay, so SAG-AFTRA has a lot of virtual forums right now, which I'm super excited about, especially for those of you who are pre-members. If you have not yet joined the union, first of all, if you are eligible, I just can't say this enough, join. Listen, if any of you email me, you're like, should I join? Yes, you should join. I don't know how to be more clear. Yes, join. I really have not come across a single person that has a case that I'm like, for you, nah. Like, no, it only makes you look more professional. It only puts you in a better category and gets you competing at like a professional level sooner. And that's what you need. If you want to be a professional, you have to have the professional things that go along with that. And part of that is being a union actor. If you are a pre-member, whether you're eligible or you are not yet eligible, a big thing that I've been really passionate about is having pre-members get educated on what is happening in the union before you even join. It's been this thing where it's like you don't even learn stuff about the union until like after you've been in it for 5 years. And that's a big thing that I really wanted to change. I am beyond grateful for our union. I can't even start talking about it because it just makes me super emotional, because I am truly just so proud and honored to be a part of this workers actor union. And there's a YouTube page, there's a SAG-AFTRA YouTube page, there's a SAG-AFTRA podcast, and you can listen to any of that as a pre-member at any stage. And I couldn't recommend that more highly. I'm such a big fan of paving. You want to pre-pave where you're going. So you don't wait till you get there to start implementing the things that you're going to need. You start implementing them before you arrive. That's how you get fast, steady progress. The more you know, the better you do. When you know more, you do better. You guys know that from your acting career. The more you know about impulses, the more you know about story, the more you know about emotional range, all of those sorts of things. As an actor, the better you are as an actor. And I'm here to tell you, the more you know about your union, the more you know about contracts, the more you know about your rights, what you earn versus what you should be earning, how to read your checks. All the time I get emails from people who are like, oh my God, I read my check and I was missing $3,000. I'm so glad that you tell me to like read my checks. And you don't have to be a crazy person about it. Just like listen to a couple podcast episodes. Just have the SAG-AFTRA YouTube page be on in the background while you're doing laundry. Super easy. Pre-members and members alike, I just want you to really do that. Do it. Tag me in it. I love it when you're like listening to this, watching this. I will repost it. I will put it in my story. That is my promise to you. Anything you can do to just get informed now. All right, you guys. I love you. And union working, union strong.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Can we talk about your hair? Because I think it's so great. So you guys, she's a blonde. And what I loved is this feeling that you always have, like, should I be a brunette? Should I go brown? And I remember like straight up like yelling at you about it.
You did.
And I was like, listen, you are like Ray Seahorn. You are like Betty Gilpin. You know who everyone wants more of right now? Ray Seahorn and Betty Gilpin. Like, those women are amazing and they are strong. They have like low voices and they're sexy and they're cool and they're smart and they are blondes. I was really adamant about it. And lo and behold, so far, nobody's been like, gosh, can we dye your hair brown?
No, nope, nope. And you know what else is great too? And it's that I think body image is something that obviously plagues most women and men, but especially in this industry. And when I was too general with my type, something I would also always lean back on when I wouldn't book was I would go, oh, it's my body. Like, oh, it's
Oh,
my
I love that.
because
I'm so
I'm
glad you're
not
talking about this.
because I'm not like a size 2. And so it's always like, it's my body, it's my body. But you know what? Like my type, it's my body. I'm strong, I work out, I lift weights, I have muscle tone. I'm not a size 2, but neither, like I don't have to be, first of all, no one has to be that. But it's also not a requirement for my type. And it's taught me to love my body for what it can do on screen or on stage as an instrument and not as something that needs to be sexualized or to be made smaller.
And another thing that I think we talked about, and I'm guessing Buckley probably talked to you about it too, is like, everyone is getting tailored.
Yeah.
Like when you get to a place, everyone looks great on camera, no matter what their body looks like, because they have a tailor.
Yeah, that's huge.
There's curve here, boobs and butts and hips and all of that. Like looking your most flattering or looking less flattering is often just about the shape of the clothes that they put on you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And all of those A-list actors many of them have curve, like they just tailor the outfits to them.
Yeah. They know it looks good and they do that. I also found too, I mean, like full disclosure, I had a manager when I first moved out here who was horrible. She told me she would not submit me unless I lost like a crazy amount of weight, and she gave me diet pills and I took them because I didn't know, I didn't know that wasn't a requirement. And again, I was like, I'm like the good student. It's like, tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like I lost a bunch of weight. I was really unhealthy and I didn't book because my instrument wasn't working properly and because I was tired and because I was unhappy, and that affects your work. And so I was like, you know what? I've done that. And that didn't work. I'd rather feel strong and be happy and feel creative and feel capable. And that will book at the end of the day versus, how big are her hips?
And it has.
Yes.
And I love that you said like feel strong, because I think that's also your casting. Like you have strong casting. And if you feel strong, that comes through. But if you feel weak and tired, then that doesn't help you. Great. Well, I just love this so much. I want to ask you, for all of the people right now, I know you teach, for anyone who is out there doing the acting and wherever they are with it right now on their journey, what are some thoughts that you have for them during this quarantine period of things that they could be looking at, could be working on, that you feel like would be a good use of this time, knowing now what you know about getting your shit together?
Well, I think, that's different for everyone. I would say, where are your knowledge gaps? Like, I know that when I moved out here, I knew a lot about Shakespeare and a lot about Tennessee Williams and like nothing about Chekhov, exactly, but knew nothing about the way a film set ran. If I looked at a crew list, I wouldn't know like, well, what does the grip do? So where is your knowledge gap? You can be using this time to just educate yourself on the business, or if you know a lot about the business but don't know anything about the classics or how to write a screenplay, like educate yourself. There's so much information online. The Google machine is amazing, but also, in terms of your type and brand, ask the questions, try to get as specific as you can. Who are the actors and actresses that you look up to who are doing parts that you feel like are right for you? And then what are those TV shows? And what are the colors of those TV shows? And what are the scripts of those TV shows? I mean, I think reading scripts is so helpful, not just for, creating a future reel, but also just understanding the material that is right for you, the material that lights you up, but also the material that would fit you, and becoming familiar with those storylines. I mean, there's so much to do. Workshops. Like I took 5 years off from doing workshops, and I never had a lot of luck with them, probably because I was not specific with my type and I was just choosing material that did not fit me. And I've started to do workshops again during quarantine, choosing material that fits me, and I'm getting called in for auditions. Like that's insane. I never thought that would happen, especially in quarantine. I think there's oodles and oodles of things that you can be doing.
Well, I love what you just said, because it brought me to the thing I want to talk about in particular with you and with all of us, but that I've seen with you is like you solve one thing and then you have to go get the next thing to solve, right?
Yeah,
so it was like It's never done. And it was like, you were getting feedback that your type wasn't clear. You got clarity on that. Then you got results, but now you want more results. And, one of the things for everybody that I'm really big fan of is what I call extroverting your talent. Because at the end of the day, like if you play this fucking whiskey swigging detective, people can only cast you to the degree that they know that you do that. And also reminding people that you do that. Like a lot of people know you, but people see so many actors all the time. You just have to sort of kind of remind people that you exist. And just like any advertising of anyone trying to get you to buy their shit, right? Like you get these emails from whatever website you were on and you had to put your email in to get the receipt email. And then they like email you every fucking 8 hours to let you know, like, come back to Bed Bath & Beyond, right? And, we don't want to be an annoyance like Bed Bath & Beyond, but it's important for people to know you exist. And I just fucking love that, like, here you are, you have a series, you're on this contract for at least another year or so, and you're working. And also you recognize that there's more to go and more places to be. And you took the initiative to go and continue to extrovert your talent in a new way. And it's hard. It's hard to be like, okay, I have this success, but I'm still going to put myself out there. And she texted me, guys. She was like, hey, did my first workshop in 5 years, got an audition. And I was sort of like, yeah, then definitely don't do that again. Wait another 5 years for that. Right?
Well, I think, and you've talked about this before on the podcast, there is something I think inside of you that you need as an actor, which is just this need to level up and this drive to learn more and do more. And you're never going to reach a point where you get to check a box unless maybe you're Meryl Streep and you go like, okay, I did it. I can kick my feet back. Like, I think everyone at every level is going, well, how can I get to there? I think even celebrities are going, why didn't I get offered that part? Why did she get offered that part? Why wasn't I sent that script? Why didn't I get that nomination? Right? It's
all of
constantly, like constantly wanting to move forward. And if you don't have that, then I ain't good luck, because
yeah, I agree.
You have to be self-motivated because you're not going to have a rep who's going to call you to get you out of bed in the morning. I had a student once who missed an assignment and he said, well, when I have an agent, they'll just remind me to do things like that, right?
Oh no, I gasped. I just gasped.
I was like, oh, bless your tender
blessed be
soul.
Yeah, lots of misinformation happening out there.
Yep.
Yeah, that really, and it's like that stuff that breaks my heart. It's like, it would have been great if your agent had just like let you know. But also, they'd have to really give some time to what the issue might actually be.
And they have so many clients. Like,
that's
you're not
it. And like, you're not earning their money yet, so you're not worth that time, right? And nobody is spending as much time with you as you to really help you like gather all the feedback out there and sort of decide what you need. And also want to say, like, it's a trial and error process. Like, I love that you were like, I shot 4 scenes. One of them didn't work out. I say that to people all the time. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you take 4 headshots and then like, maybe one of the looks doesn't, maybe 2 of the looks doesn't work out. But if you get 2, like, that's the advertising process, right?
Well, it's still a learning process. It's like, how many plays have I done in Los Angeles where I'm like, no one needs to see this, right? But I still learned a ton, but face value, like, yeah, that was a lot of time and energy put into something that was a failure, but whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's a lot of guess and check.
Welcome to life, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to life. Okay. What is the best part about the business for you?
The families that you get to make along the way. I love that. I think it's also why I love theater. And it's always nice when you get to do a longer stretch of a TV show or a film and you get to create those families, because everyone's so, hopefully open and giving and generous. Those are the best actors anyway, in my opinion. And so if you can have that dynamic on set, it's so nice. It's really comforting.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
And what is the worst part about the business for you?
Probably kind of what we already hit on, where you can be, I'm such like a, let me check that off my to-do list or tell me what to do and I'll do it, action-oriented person, and knowing that you can do all of those things and still not get the part because the casting director hadn't eaten lunch and they were cranky and So therefore they don't like you.
Yeah, right.
It's the things that are outside of your control. That's what really annoys me. But I'm learning to take it.
Roll with it.
Roll with it.
Well, you just sort of like manage those things. I've experienced they don't go away. That you just sort of get better at managing your feelings about that, right?
Yeah, I just find like, well, that's just what this is,
That's what that is. Mm-hmm. What do you wish somebody had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
Everything we just talked about in terms of type, specificity, and also realizing that just being able to, I could type myself, I could say out loud what my type was, and I could type other people, but if it doesn't translate to materials, and it doesn't do you any good.
I mean, you guys just have to see this scene on her reel. It's her first scene on her reel, and maybe it's your first scene on her reel. It's a scene in a trailer park with a gun. And she just handles the whole thing with such fucking class and badassery. Aww. And the whole thing like makes sense. And I remember seeing that and I was like, yes. Like, listen, when I shot Godless, we had like gun training and they were like, they would watch me with the gun and then they would go, yeah, your character doesn't need to be good with a gun. And so just like watching you handle it, I'm like, yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Nobody is giving me that. And then watching me handle it, anything like any of that. Right?
Part of growing up in the South. But yeah, that's what I would say too. Just everything we were saying about you need more than talent. It's not just being good. It's about knowing your brand, recognizing that this is a business. And you can know it's a business. Like I knew it was a business in my head, but I didn't like know it was a business in my bones until you start.
Like what that meant.
Yeah, what that actually meant in terms of they need to make money and like this is a business with a lot of money in it. And they're not going to pay for a product if they don't know what that product is.
God, that's the best way to put it.
Can't deliver what that product says it can do. That was huge for me.
I love that. I just love that. Mildly interesting.
Marquee TV. For those of you who are bored during quarantine, and if you're like sitting here going, I do have a knowledge gap about Tennessee Williams and William Shakespeare, and I don't want to sit and read Marquee TV. You can put it on your Roku. It's theater. It's just a lot of live theater. Same with digitaltheater.com. Of course, I'm a theater nerd, so I have to.
Yeah. Your little theater nerd self. I just love it.
William Shakespeare's my boyfriend. He's my friend.
I feel like I'm a recovered theater nerd.
Don't take it back. Take it back, Audrey.
Oh, no. It's, when you marry a filmmaker, this is like my favorite. I just want to give everyone this like little inside skip. Here's my mildly interesting. One of the funniest things is when actors discover that in Los Angeles, not only do a lot of people not care about theater in the industry side, but they actually adamantly hate it.
Yeah.
Like they think theater is stupid and the worst and like who cares? And my sweet husband, I mean, like a lot of reps that I know, a lot of people get into filmmaking and television because they're storytellers, but they actually greatly dislike theater. And so when you're like, I'm just so classically trained in theater, here's all the theater I've done, that to a lot of them, that's like, ugh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that love it, but living with Jesse has definitely taught me that a lot of people don't have the taste for it.
I will say this, something I've been doing with my casting director workshops, other than finding casting directors who are obviously casting things that I'm right for, are finding the ones that do like theater, because that has made a huge difference. Because they're going to see my resume anyway. You know what I mean? Like if they're going to call me and they're going to see that I have theater training, that I've done theater.
Done a lot.
If that can give me an extra bolt or extra push in their eyes, then why not? But no,
because I do think it is legitimate. It's just, it's not for everybody. Like I know the value of it in terms of your instrument and in terms of your craft, but a lot of people feel the opposite.
Oh yeah. When I moved here because I did my training on the East Coast where it's, much more revered. And then moving out here, I was told, please don't tell anyone your age. I was 24. Don't tell anyone your age because you're too old. And don't tell anyone you do theater. That's what I was told. And I was like, oh God. Who am I?
Up is down, down is up. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. No, I always tell people theater to me is like that guy that's like fucking great sex, but damn, he just takes all your money. He won't pay for lunch. He doesn't have car insurance.
But
always
like,
needs a ride.
God, always needs a fucking ride everywhere. But the sex is really good. And you kind of just want to like sit in bed together and like listen to music and just like vibe. But like, that's theater for me. Okay. Listen, I love you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited for you. And I think the thing that, like, honestly, all of the type and everything is great and bonus. But I just want to say to people, like, when you look at Alex's work, you will see she has done the work on the work. And that's, to me, what gets me excited for you, is that this other stuff of like having people know what to do with you is like, great, so fucking great. But that then you'll be able to have the opportunity more and more to fucking ride, you know, to like do what you can do and to show and express and explore what you can do with other people who are as good at what they do as you are at what you do. Like, that to me lights me on fire, and I'm super excited for you.
Well, thank you. You know, I love you, and hearing that from you just lights me up. So thank you so much.
Okay, good.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we have Brianna Price. Oh my gosh, Brianna is so... I want to be Brianna. She's so inspiring. She's so cool. She is such a boss. She's so hardworking. You're going to be thrilled by this episode. Literally, I listened to this episode. I recorded it with her. And right after I recorded it, I was lit up. And then I booked a really big job. Will it shoot? I'm not sure. But I booked it. And really in large part to the incredible inspiration that I got from talking with her. I'm just so happy to know her and to love her. I'm the biggest fan. So she is an actress and dancer, and she, again, just wasn't getting any traction as an actress despite doing all the things that she knew how to do. And then a friend of hers was like, OMG, you should listen to this podcast, Audrey Helps Actors. And then she started telling Brianna about all of the things I say to do in terms of getting ready to be ready. And she fucking put it together, and she is working. I'm so proud of her, because I just love when people are so good and so incredible, and then they start getting the jobs that they so deeply deserve. So it's really incredible. I think you're going to really look forward to it. Special thanks this week to Alexandra Wright. Alex, girl, I love you. I'm just like so excited for you to like turn into the like Ray Seahorn, Betty Gilpin that you deserve to be. And I just think of all of the producers and execs and creatives who are just going to like find you and hold you so dearly for life, because you bring such magic to everything that you touch. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Special thanks this week and every week to Thomas Snodgrass for his incredible work with sound. Thanks, Tommy. You guys, Thomas loves to surf, so if you ever see him out there, just give him a little hang something sign with you do with your hands. Executive producer, Jesse Lumen, my still so handsome husband, getting more handsome every year, I should say. Show music by Ari De Niro, theme song by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill, and editing this season by Taylor Martorana. Taylor! Crushing it. We are so excited to have you join our team this season. Don't forget your towel.